Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. Well, we've finished the letter N, and so we're working backwards through the alphabet, and we're now on the letter M and M-Y, Myaskovsky. And I have a clump of Myaskovsky here. And one other thing, actually, that I need to deal with in a moment. What do we got here? Okay, first let's do with the easy stuff. The Complete Symphonic Works on Olympia, volumes 6 and 7. I have the Complete Symphonic Works with this series with Svetlanov and the Russian Federation Academic Symphony Orchestra, whatever they're called. Symphonies number 6 and the Pathetique Overture in C minor. And Symphonies 7 and 26. He wrote 27 symphonies, which is pretty extraordinary. It was like a record in Soviet Russia. And it's amazing. There were going to be 27 symphonies and 12 other symphonic works, 17 discs in the series. I don't know if the reissue has 14 CDs. Okay. In any case, there's an Olympia box that had all this stuff too, which I have somewhere. I don't remember where. It's around here. But I've got the complete symphonies, and we'll talk about them momentarily. These were just leftovers as I was collecting them, but then I got the whole thing, so we're going to deal with that in a moment. And then Symphony number 6 with Nimi Järvi, the Gothenburg Symphony, and let's see, the chorus, the Gothenburg Symphony Chorus. It's a choral symphony. It's a big, long sucker. It's one of, I think, his biggest, isn't it? 64 minutes long, kind of socialist realisty, but serious work. Now, let's just talk about Myaskovsky, because a bunch of you people have asked me to do him. I want to do him, to talk about him, and we should. He deserves it. I've always found his music to be excruciatingly uninteresting, but maybe it'll grow on me. Some of you don't. Some of you swear by him, so I respect that. I really do. Here on alto is the Complete Symphony set, as I was saying, which with Svetlanov. And you've got here like almost all the symphonies, but you don't have the other pieces. The Pathetique Overture is here. The Salutatory whatever overture is here too. Now, I think Myaskovsky is in a very special position in Soviet music. He wrote almost exclusively non-programmatic abstract works, even where he used choruses and words and things. He was a very fine contrapuntist. His symphonies are very diverse in form and in content. I've heard a few of them live. I've listened to all of them on records. I mean, when I had that Olympia box, it was just staring at me. You know, it's like, oh God, saying, please, please, you have to listen to me. You're sitting here. He wrote 27 symphonies. He's the Havergal Brian of Russia or something like that. He died in 1950, I believe, 1880 something to 1950, were his years. And so I did listen to them. I've listened to them several times, and I have found it such a slog to get through them. Maybe someday, the light will shine on me and dawn will break and I'll get used to it. But there are people, like I said, and they've written in the comments, who absolutely swear by him and think he's a master. He was very highly respected in his life in Russia. And the thing that he managed to do, and I have total respect for him for doing this, was to sort of, he was able to achieve a compromise between the demands of abstract musical expression and socialist realism in a way that nobody else did. I think the way he did it was to make his music emotionally rather neutral, because it was very hard to complain about anything that he did. I mean, he had his issues. I mean, he was accused of formalism and all the same crap that Shostakovich and Prokofiev and all those others were. But at the same time, his musical seriousness was so unquestioned. His nobility of utterance, his focus on just these major works, which he produced with great regularity. I mean, you got to give the guy props, and I do. And there are some pieces here that aren't bad. I mean, that I can enjoy and listen to, more than once. And Svetlanov deserves great credit for doing all of these things and for recording all of them. And they're good performances, and they're generally pretty well recorded too. Recorded 1991 to 1993. So this was a major, major project and an important project. And now they're out on alto at a very reasonable price, licensed from Olympia, which is how they came out originally here. And I respect it. I respect it, but I just haven't gotten around to liking it yet. And I also have his complete string quartets, and there are 13 of those, composed between, 1929 and 1949. Excellently played by the Taneyev Quartet. They're a wonderful group, and they do them superbly well. This is from the same alto people, but the label is technically different. Northern Flowers, whatever that means. But what can I say? Again, there are some lovely works here. I think the fourth quartet's particularly attractive. I enjoyed number 8 in F sharp minor. Has an intensity that Myaskovsky doesn't always have. Most of these are rather placid, in my opinion, and not terribly memorable. But it's just me. It's me. I blame myself entirely. I'm glad I have this stuff. I will continue to try to dip into it to see if it really strikes me, and maybe someday it will. But last but not least, forget Myaskovsky. Let's go back a little bit more in the alphabet. Olli Mustonen, who is a composer as well as a pianist, and a composer in the style of somebody almost like, Poulenc Goes to Finland. He's a character. He has a sense of humor. He's a brittle neoclassicist as a composer and also as a pianist, no matter what he's playing. I saw him do. I was at what was the music festival? It wasn't Lahti, but it was something like that. It was in Finland, or it was in Sweden, actually. I think it was somewhere in Scandinavia. And he did the Schumann symphonic etudes. He did the entire Schumann symphonic etudes without ever touching the pedals of the piano. His feet were up off the ground the entire time. And, sometimes you feel that he's just having a joke at the audience's expense. Sometimes he brings wonderful richness and wit and a kind of puckish sense of humor to the music. And I remember we were in this hall, and it was the Bergen Music Festival. That's where it was. It was in Bergen, Norway. That's it. And we were in this pile of rock, this building that had very low doors because people were shorter back then. These little doors, and he was leaving the stage, the performance space. It wasn't a stage; it was just on the floor. We were sitting, in rows of chairs. After doing the Schumann symphonic etudes, and he's sort of waving and looking at us, and he goes down the stairs through this doorway, and just whacks his head on the top of the doorway. And I thought, the ghost of Schumann getting its revenge. But anyway, these are fun pieces. You have his triple concerto for 3 violins and orchestra, his Nanette number 1, the Petite Suite for cello and string orchestra, Frogs Dancing on Water Lilies for cello and string orchestra, and his Nanette number 2. They're short, they're peppy, they're kind of les six, charming music, fun music, a genuine creative mind is at work here, and one with who doesn't take it so seriously. Maybe you can see from the picture. See, look at the smile. Look at that little grin. Isn't he looking a little mischievous? And he is a really fine pianist quite often. I mean, he's done some great stuff. So listen to his Diabelli variations. It's one of the best because it really brings out all the humor in the piece. And there's a lot that most people ignore. So I enjoyed this. I really did. It's on Undine, and it's worth hearing. And there you have it. Myaskovsky and Mustonen, 2 rather different composers. That's for sure. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.